a certain satisfaction in teaching people how to love a misunderstood ingredient. Rhubarb is one such ingredient. Sometimes referred to as the pie vegetable, this sort of celery-looking like unruly plant has all of the same flavor you love in a tart apple and a sour cherry. So pucker up. Today, I'm showing you how to make a straight-up rhubarb pie that's going to make you forget about Grandma's apple pie. Let's get started. We can't bake pie without a pie crust. And I've got my favorite recipe all rolled out and in a 9-inch pie dish. There's two kinds of pies, or I should say two ways of baking a pie. You put uncooked ingredients in an unbaked pie shell, and you put them in the oven to bake for 50, 60, or even 75 minutes. The second way is you put cooked ingredients into a semi-baked pie shell, and you bake it for a much shorter time in the oven, about 30 or 35 minutes. That's what we're going to do today. In order to semi-bake this pie shell, which is technically called blind baking or baking blind, you put your pie shell in your pie dish just the way you always do. You're going to prick the bottom of it liberally with a fork. You're going to prick the sides of the crust too, all the way around the dish. Then you put either a piece of parchment or a piece of aluminum foil in the bottom. And I like to use parchment paper. Once that's in the bottom, you have to weight the pie shell. And by weighting, I mean with pie weights, with beans, or with what I call a pie chain. And you need about 1 pound of beans or 1 pound of pie weights. These are 4 ounces apiece. And the reason I like pie chains is because when this comes out of the oven and it's really, really hot, these are the easiest to remove because with a simple fork, like picking up spaghetti, you can pull them all out in a strand. Now I'm just going to pop this in a 425-degree oven for about 6 minutes, and while it bakes, we're going to make our streusel topping. Streusel is the German word that means something sprinkled or scattered. And to us bakers, it means a topping for a pie or even a muffin that's scattered over the top. The 3 basic ingredients to a streusel are butter, sugar, and flour. And beyond that, you can add a few other things. And I've added some oats, uncooked rolled oats, and cinnamon. And I'm going to put 4 tablespoons of butter in here. And using a handheld pastry blender, these things work great, and a sharp knife, I'm going to start, and this is called cutting in the shortening. And I'm just going to keep cutting my butter in, and I like to clear my pastry brush using a sharp knife until this mixture forms coarse, pea-sized little crumbs. That looks just about right. How easy was that? I'm just going to set this aside, get my pie crust out of the oven, and I'm going to move over to the stove to make our pie filling. Cooked pie fillings are really easy to make, and they come in handy when you have a whole lot of fruit. For instance, I cut 8 pounds of rhubarb yesterday, and I'm going to take a big pot tomorrow morning, and I'm going to make this pie filling, and I'm going to portion it into 6-cup containers and freeze it so that I can enjoy rhubarb pie all winter long. Today, I've put 2 pounds of 1-inch cut rhubarb in a 4-quart stock pot. We're going to turn that on medium. I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of water that's been mixed with a tablespoon of vanilla extract. And now I'm going to add some sugar, some salt, some flour, and 2 tablespoons of tapioca. You can use cornstarch, but tapioca is a trick that my grandmother taught me. For the same creamy deliciousness it does in puddings, it's going to do to this pie filling. all there is to it. We're going to mix this around. And in the beginning, it's a little bit unruly because the rhubarb is in big chunks and you really want it to be in big chunks and pieces. Now we're going to turn this up to high and bring it to a boil. When it comes to a boil, I'm going to turn the temperature down and I'm going to let this simmer for about 6 to 8 minutes. And it's just going to make its own. It's going to make a thick pie filling. Well, this took just a little bit over 8 minutes today, but you can see what a beautiful, thick pie filling this is. And because I left the rhubarb in big chunks, you know that there's still a lot of texture to them. Well, I'm going to turn this off and we're going to move back over to the kitchen counter and fill our pie. I've put all of my pie filling into my semi-baked pie crust. It's thick, it's beautiful, it smells wonderful. Now all I have to do is spoon my streusel topping over the top, and it's exactly what it's supposed to be, sprinkled all over the top, as evenly as we can get it. All those big pieces of butter, flavored with cinnamon. You want to try to get it down into all the corners. You want to, let me set this down a second, kind of make sure you work your way into all the little corners of the pie crust. I think that's just about, okay, just a little bit more on this spot. That's just about perfect. Now I'm going to put this in a 350-degree oven for about 30 to 35 minutes, just until the juices start to bubble. Let it cool a little bit, and then we're going to eat. It's not easy being green, but it sure is delicious. For these and all of my recipes, just go to my website,